Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you're new, we're glad you're here. And to our returning viewers, welcome back. Before we dive in, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Hit the bell so you never miss updates. Alright, let's jump into today's conspiracy theory. Welcome back to Pistols Theories. Tonight's question is one that blurs the line between science fiction and reality. What if invisibility already exists? What if two world powers, China and the United States, have been secretly racing to perfect it? It all began with something called metamaterials, engineered substances capable of bending light around an object. Not reflections, not camouflage, actual light redirection. In theory, a person wrapped in the right material could vanish. These discoveries surfaced in scientific papers in the early 2000s, but behind those papers, hidden funding, military programs, classified research under the mask of academia. In the global race toward invisibility, the trail of one nation is paradoxically the most visible. Among all nations, China's progress is the most documented. This isn't an accident, but a deliberate strategy. For decades, the Chinese government has pursued a policy of military-civil fusion, a national directive designed to erase the boundaries between its civilian research sector and its military ambitions. The goal is to ensure that any technological leap made in a university lab or a commercial startup can be seamlessly integrated into the People's Liberation Army, or PLA. This strategy creates a vast, open-source library of scientific papers, patents, and conference presentations. It allows the world to see the building blocks of their ambition, even as the final structure remains shrouded in secrecy. It's a calculated display of progress, a signal of technological dominance that serves as both a point of national pride and a subtle form of geopolitical deterrence. While other nations bury their most sensitive research deep within classified programs from the outset, China's approach is different. They build in the open, inviting collaboration and academic acclaim until the moment a technology reaches a critical threshold of military utility. Then the curtain falls. The epicenters of this public-facing research are China's elite academic institutions. Research teams at Tsinghua University in Beijing and Nanjing University have become world leaders in the field of metamaterials. For years, they have consistently published groundbreaking papers on electromagnetic cloaking and the manipulation of light. Their work isn't just theoretical. They have built and demonstrated actual devices. In their labs, they have successfully cloaked objects from microwave radiation, the same frequencies used by radar systems. They've engineered photonic crystals and metasurfaces, materials with microscopic repeating patterns that can steer, bend, and absorb light in ways that defy natural physics. One widely publicized experiment from a team at Zhejiang University demonstrated a device that could render small objects, like a fish, invisible to certain light frequencies. While these early prototypes were limited, often bulky, effective only from specific angles, and constrained to narrow bands of the electromagnetic spectrum, they served as undeniable proof of concept. Each published paper, each successful demonstration, was another brick laid on the path to true practical invisibility. The academic world watched with a mixture of admiration and apprehension, fully aware that the principles proven effective on a small scale in a lab could eventually be scaled up for the battlefield. But this academic progress is only one half of the equation. The military-civil fusion strategy ensures that for every university research team, there is a corporate partner waiting in the wings. Behind the celebrated scientists stand corporations with direct, often state-owned ties to the military. These aren't just abstract partnerships, they are a direct pipeline for converting theoretical physics into tactical advantages. Companies like the Aviation Industry Corporation of China, or AVIC, and China Electronics Technology Group Corporation, or CETC, are instrumental in this process. They take the foundational research from universities and begin the arduous process of weaponization. They are developing nanotech fabrics, textiles woven with metamaterials designed to mask a soldier's thermal signature from infrared scopes. They are engineering meta-lenses, ultra-thin optical components that could be integrated into the skins of aircraft and drones, capable of actively adapting their reflective properties to blend into the surrounding sky. These aren't just passive camouflage systems. They are dynamic, intelligent surfaces that sense the environment and react in real time. The goal is not just to hide, but to control perception itself, making a fighter jet appear as a flock of birds on radar, or a column of tanks disappear into the background heat of the desert. The paper trail extends from academic journals into the dense legalistic world of patents, and it's here that the military's direct involvement becomes undeniable. While many patents are filed by the corporations themselves, a significant number have been traced back to research institutes directly operated by the People's Liberation Army. One such leaked patent, which caused a stir among defense analysts, described in meticulous detail what it called adaptive stealth systems. The document went far beyond simple radar absorption. It outlined a multi-layered material that could actively bend not just microwave radiation, but also visible light around an object. The language used in these documents is precise, technical, and devoid of the speculative flair you might find in a university press release. It speaks of tunable metasurfaces, gradient refractive indices, and phase array modulation. These are engineering terms, blueprints for a functional system. The patent didn't just describe a concept, it laid out a method for its construction. It was a recipe for making an object disappear, not through illusion, but through the fundamental manipulation of physics. The implications were staggering. Such a system, if perfected, would render an aircraft or vehicle invisible to radar, infrared, and the naked eye simultaneously. It's the kind of technology you'd expect to find in the pages of science fiction, a fantastical concept reserved for blockbuster films and futuristic novels. Except this wasn't fiction. The patent was real. And at the bottom of the document, in the space reserved for the applicant, was the official seal of a research division of the People's Liberation Army. This single detail transforms the entire context. It moves the technology from the realm of academic curiosity to the cold, hard reality of military development. It confirms that the highest levels of China's armed forces are not just interested in invisibility, they are actively designing it. The signature on that document represents the point where open science ends and the black budget world of classified warfare begins. It is the official stamp of a nation's intent to master the art of not being seen. And then, just as the trail becomes clearest, it goes cold. This is the final and perhaps most telling phase of China's strategy. Once a technology is deemed mature enough for serious military application, the public-facing entities involved begin to disappear. The very metamaterial companies that were once lauded in state media have since vanished from public record. Their corporate websites go offline, replaced by error messages. Their executives stop appearing at international conferences. Their names are scrubbed from supplier lists and trade directories. Their projects, once detailed in proud announcements, become classified. This sudden coordinated disappearance is the signal that the research has been fully absorbed into the state's secretive defense apparatus. The open documentation that defined the early stages of development is replaced by an impenetrable wall of silence. Western intelligence agencies and independent analysts are left to piece together the puzzle from the fragments left behind, the old academic papers, the now defunct corporate websites, and the occasional tantalizing patent. The work continues, but it does so behind the closed doors of secure military facilities and within newly formed anonymous shell corporations. The paper trail ends, but the pursuit of invisibility accelerates, now hidden from view deep inside the heart of China's military machine. While China's ambitions in the science of the unseen are documented in patents and papers, the American approach has historically been different. It is a story not of open publication, but of profound, almost mythical silence. Across the Pacific, from the bustling labs of Beijing and Nanjing, lies a desert known for secrets, a landscape of stark, brutal emptiness, where the horizon stretches into infinity and the sky is a crushing, silent blue. This is the Great Basin Desert of Nevada, a place intentionally chosen for its isolation. It is a modern frontier, not of settlement, but of exclusion. Here, in the heart of this desolation, the United States government built a kingdom of shadows, a place that for generations officially did not exist. It has many names: the Ranch, Dreamland, but the world knows it by a simple numerical designation, a name that has become synonymous with government conspiracy and technology that exists beyond the public's imagination: Area 51. For decades, its very existence was a matter of folklore. Any inquiry sent to the Pentagon or the CIA was met with a flat bureaucratic denial. It was a ghost on the map, a phantom whispered about by pilots and locals, but absent from any official record. The government's position was absolute. There is nothing there. This absolute denial in the face of mounting anecdotal evidence only fueled the speculation. It created a vacuum of information, and into that vacuum rushed every imaginable theory, from the plausible to the paranormal. Then, in 2013, after decades of stonewalling, the impossible happened. In response to a Freedom of Information Act request, the CIA released a declassified history of the U-2 spy plane program, and within its pages, for the first time, was an official acknowledgement: the name, the location, the confirmation that Area 51 was and is very real. The official story was that it was nothing more than a flight testing facility, a place to develop and fly secret aircraft far from prying eyes. But the sudden shift from absolute denial to mundane acknowledgement felt to many like a strategic misdirection, a way of confirming the known in order to better conceal the unknown. And the aircraft tested there were indeed legendary, the U-2 flying at the edge of space, the A-12 and its successor, the SR-71 Blackbird, an aircraft that could outrun a missile, and most famously the F-117 Nighthawk, the world's first operational stealth aircraft. Area 51 was the cradle of America's black projects, the birthplace of technologies that redefined air power. It was the base that tested America's most advanced aircraft. Each of these programs was a generational leap, a machine that operated on principles the public and America's adversaries did not yet understand. They were, in their time, as alien as any science fiction. The base's legacy is one of making the impossible possible, of taking concepts from the drawing board and turning them into machines that own the sky. The principle of stealth, perfected in this desert, is not invisibility. It is about reducing an object's signature, its radar cross-section, its infrared heat, its noise. It is the art of being difficult to see. But what if that was just the first step? What if, in the decades since the Nighthawk first flew, the research at Area 51 moved beyond simply deflecting radar? What if the goal was no longer to be a ghost on a screen, but to disappear from the screen entirely, to vanish from sight itself? But what if those aircraft weren't just stealthy, but invisible? The evidence, as with China, is not found in press releases. It is buried deep within the labyrinth of the United States defense budget. In unclassified and black budget documents, analysts find not a single line item for an invisibility cloak, but a constellation of related research programs. U.S. military research budgets show heavy funding for electromagnetic cloaking, infrared suppression, and active camouflage. These are not theoretical physics grants. They are applied science programs with specific military objectives: multispectral signature management, adaptive surfaces, gradient index optics. The language is intentionally opaque, but the direction of research is clear: to control how an object interacts with every part of the electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves to visible light. The goal is to give American forces the ability to choose when and if they are seen. And it is from this world of deep classification that the most extraordinary claims emerge, not from official documents, but from the shadows, from individuals who claim to have worked inside these programs. Whistleblower reports, unverified but persistent, speak of technologies far beyond what is publicly acknowledged. They describe test flights of craft that did not just evade radar, but seemed to bend light around their hulls. These accounts mention craft that absorbed light itself, creating the illusion of open air. One of the most consistent and startling claims is of a technology that doesn't just project a camouflage pattern, but actively samples the light from behind the vehicle and projects it onto the front, creating a near-perfect real-time optical illusion, a see-through effect. These are, it must be stressed, just claims, but they come from a place historically proven to be decades ahead of the curve. This brings us to the final and most controversial layer of the Area 51 legend, the theory that the incredible leaps in technology witnessed there were not entirely the product of human ingenuity. For decades, many of the UFO sightings reported over the American Southwest were in fact test flights of the U-2 and A-12. The public saw strange, silent, high-altitude craft, and their minds filled in the blanks. The Air Force, content to let the UFO mythos provide cover for its secret programs, did little to discourage it. But this raises a more profound question: what if some of it was real? And then there's the controversial theory that some of these technologies weren't built from scratch, but recovered from something not of this world. The allegation, central to the Area 51 mythology, is that of reverse engineering, that the United States is in possession of recovered extraterrestrial technology, and that the scientists in the Nevada desert are not inventing but reverse engineering, that the leap to metamaterials to active camouflage to light-bending fields was not a leap at all but a small step, guided by a technology that is not our own. It is a claim that exists at the furthest edge of belief, but it is a theory that for some is the only explanation that fits the strange history, the absolute secrecy, and the rumored capabilities of the things being tested in the dark. To most people, invisibility is fantasy, but to scientists inside defense labs, it's just physics. Metamaterials, quantum optics, nano-reflective coating systems, all terms found in real US and Chinese grant filings. It's not a theory that these programs exist, it's fact. What's hidden is how far they've gone. The truth may not be classified because it's fictional, but because it already works. We have seen the science, we have traced the history of secrecy. Now we must connect the two. What follows is a theory, a framework built from declassified documents, scientific papers, and the logical trajectory of a new silent arms race. It suggests that the world's two leading superpowers are not just competing, but are engaged in a clandestine war for the ultimate strategic advantage, control over perception itself. Here's the theory. China and the United States are locked in a silent war of visibility. This is not a war fought with soldiers and tanks in the traditional sense, but one waged in laboratories and on secret test ranges. The battleground is the electromagnetic spectrum, and the prize is the ability to move undetected, to see without being seen. Every satellite pass, every radar sweep, every thermal image is a move and a counter move in this high-stakes game of technological chess. The evidence suggests each nation has chosen a dramatically different path to achieve this goal, a path that reflects their broader military and industrial philosophies. China's strategy appears to be one of pragmatic, scalable deployment. Based on their public research and industrial capacity, it's theorized that China may already have achieved partial or practical invisibility through advanced meta fabrics. These are not the magical cloaking devices of science fiction, but sophisticated engineered materials designed to manipulate specific frequencies. They are used to mask vehicles, drones, and even soldiers from the most common forms of detection, thermal sensors, and radar. Imagine a tank coated in a material that actively cools its surface to match the ambient temperature, rendering it a ghost on an infrared scope. Picture a fighter jet whose skin is a meta-surface that absorbs and redirects incoming radar waves, shrinking its signature to that of a small bird. This approach is about breadth. It's about equipping an entire army with a layer of concealment, making every asset harder to target. It's a numbers game, a distributed defensive advantage that could neutralize a technologically superior adversary's ability to strike first. Meanwhile, the United States, with its history of pursuing revolutionary black projects, could be testing something far more advanced and far more difficult. The theory here points toward field-based invisibility. This isn't about coating a surface, it's about projecting a field that actively manipulates the space around a vehicle. One leading hypothesis is the use of plasma stealth. By generating an ionized gas field or plasma sheath around an aircraft, it could absorb and scatter radar signals with incredible efficiency. The challenge is immense. It requires a colossal amount of power, and the plasma itself might glow, creating a new visual signature. Another, even more exotic concept is the creation of a gradient index volume. This would involve projecting a field that alters the refractive index of the air itself, essentially creating a controlled, localized mirage. Light and other radiation would be bent around the craft, just as heat bends light over a hot road. This is the bleeding edge of theoretical physics, a high-risk, high-reward gamble on a technology that could render an object truly invisible to a wide range of sensors. And this brings us to the most profound question of all. For decades, pilots and military personnel have reported encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena, objects that defy conventional explanation, performing maneuvers that seem to violate the laws of physics. We are told they could be sensor glitches, atmospheric effects, or something else entirely. But what if they are not? What if those strange, silent, fast-moving objects are not extraterrestrial visitors, but the signatures of this silent war? What if the tic-tac seen by Navy pilots was a U.S. prototype testing a gradient index field, its distorted shape a byproduct of light being bent around its hull? What if other sightings of craft that seem to vanish in an instant are tests of a plasma cloaking system being pushed to its limits and failing? What if those unidentified objects weren't alien at all? What if they were prototypes already flying? In this silent war, the first definitive proof of success would not be a public announcement. It would be an object in our skies that officially does not exist. Invisibility isn't just about not being seen, it's about control of perception, presence, and truth. Whether through alien reverse engineering or human innovation, both nations may already possess pieces of technology the public isn't ready to understand. And when invisibility becomes real, it won't just change warfare, it will change reality itself. Not everything in this story is fiction. Metamaterials, nanotech, and active camouflage are real. The rest, that's for you to decide. This was the Race to Invisibility Theory. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe the unseen world might already exist. And comment below, who do you think won the race? If you liked this video, why not check out my conspiracy story, What If Africa United? Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment down what theories you have. I may just cover them in the next video.